Hi, it's Chris Westfall. Today I've been reflecting on looking back in my life and seeing those spots where I was the most productive and what made that happen. Today I had to pack before leaving for the office. We're leaving for a 7-day cruise to go to Honduras and Roatan, which I've never been to, and Belize, some places that I'd always wanted to go check out because a whole bunch of Americans are moving down to those places to retire. Who'd have thought? So as I'm packing, I'm looking at the schedule, I'm looking at the airline flight out of here to Miami, I'm looking at where we have to be when, and it suddenly dawned on me that as I'm moving around with urgency, trying to get things to match the deadlines that we have coming up, I realized that's how our business has been successful. It's always been when we always had to move to a deadline. Otherwise, we get so busy being busy that the big priorities don't get done. Why? Because there's always something else to do first. It's only when we put a certain date to a task that has to be completed that then becomes a goal. And the old saying is true, something not written down is a dream. It's not a goal. It's a goal if it has a finite date that it must be accomplished in. So if I were 48-year-old Chris talking to 20-year-old Chris, I would tell myself, first of all, get out of law enforcement because it's not going to do you any good. You're not going to save the world. But first, run fast. I tell them, run with as much urgency as you possibly can, especially during the first 3 to 5 years, because that's the time when, in this business, if you plant the harvest, if you plant the seed out there, then you'll have something to go back and get. And if you're building in residual income in the health insurance market, you should be able to live a long time after that. But first, before that, comes a sense of urgency, especially if you set a deadline. Like for the next 2 years, I'm not going to do anything else other than run as hard and fast as I can. And here's one thing that seems obvious, but some people just lose grasp of, is you'll never be as young as you are right now. Do as much as you can while you're young, while your energy is the best it possibly can be, and it never will be better than then. And do as much as you can for 3 or 5 years investing in this business. You know, that every business that you start is that way. You have to get momentum, you have to get off the ground, you have to get takeoff velocity, like if you're starting a franchise or any other business. But in this, more than any other, it can reap lifelong rewards as you have then a big pile of clients that you can get referrals from. Their spouses, their brothers, their sisters, their nieces, their nephews. As they age in, they're looking for someone. And if you've been that someone and you've established a protocol that you're continually relying on reaching out to your people in one-to-many mass communications, letting them know what's happening with the changes in your industry, letting them know what's coming up, what's proposed, so that you can be top of mind when things like that happen, naturally, you're going to get those referrals. But it first comes by running fast, running hard, doing what you know works to build and establish a rapport and a client base that later on, then you can back off the gas and you can start pursuing other exploits in life. You know, look back and based on today, having to meet certain deadlines, it's always been when we have to do something by a certain time, whether it's getting AHIP done by the end of the summer, whether it's hiring X number of employees prior to the annual election period for Medicare. Whatever the date is, we have to set it down on the calendar. We must accomplish this by then. Whatever piece of education, whatever seminars coming up, we have to register for, we have to be there. It's always when we set those deadlines hard and fast in our calendar that we're going to benefit from it, because otherwise we just get lost in the minutia of doing day-to-day tasks that will always be there. There's always going to be something to take you away from the prize. And as long as you schedule things, especially with yourself, by saying, I'm going to accomplish this goal by this certain date, then you start stepping forward. You take steps forward. Otherwise, you'll look at a big pile of to-do list that has no date listed on it. And you'll say, man, one day I'm going to do that. One day. So the biggest advice I would give somebody starting off in their business is put a date next to everything on their task list. Otherwise, it's completely useless. Prioritize it if you can. If it's not some external date that you have to comply with, prioritize it as best you can to the most important things first. Like they say, eat your frog first thing in the morning. Why? And that's the most difficult thing you do all day. Why do that first thing in the morning? Because there will never be anything else in the day that's going to be as hard as doing that first thing first. So if you do your highest and best priority task first thing on your calendar, then too, it will propel you to do other things. And then it's like exercising a muscle, getting a habit. It just gets easier and easier and easier as you get into the habit of, okay, this is important. okay, I need to do it. It's going to be on my task list. When am I going to do it by? Then things start really to get done. I want to encourage you in your business. You can do this because people have done it before you. And that's the only metric you need to look at. Be encouraged. Have a great day.